Alright, I'm going to attempt one last time to do a video review of the Jacket bike rack. I messed it up the first few times, but we'll give it another shot. So the first thing I want to do is show you how I load the bikes. Then I'll go into some detail about how I have it set up and the installation. So 3 tips for loading the bikes. 1, grip. How you grip the bicycle can really determine how easy it is to load it up there. If you don't have the upper body strength to lift a bicycle over your head, this probably isn't the best bike rack for you. You do need to lift it over your head, and I'll show you my grip technique, especially with the back bicycle, which really helps. Second is the placement of the hooks and pegs. I'll get a close-up of those here in just a minute. And third, practice. I probably did this more than a dozen times before we went on our first camping trip, just to make sure I knew exactly how I was going to get them up there, and I wasn't fooling with it, fumbling all over the place at the campground when I'm trying to have fun or relax. So first, I'll show you how I grip the bicycle that I put on the rear. I put my bicycle on the rear. I started with it because it was the lightest. Whichever one is easiest for you to pick up, maneuver, has the least amount of add-ons, bike racks, things like that, accessories. The easiest one to lift and handle would be the easiest one to put on the back. So the instructions say to have the chain facing out on both bicycles and to alternate between front to back and back to front, so that you have the handlebars facing in one direction on one bicycle and the handlebars facing the other direction on the other bicycle. So for the first bicycle, I grab it by the fork on the front and back here right in front of the pedals. It's about the center of gravity of the bicycle. Most of the weight is right here. And I turn it. Now I'm not going to go through the whole process of strapping it down. Take the other bicycle, face the chain outward. Our grip bit's similar. One hand on the forks, the other hand somewhere on the frame. I forgot to put up the kickstand when I put that one on there, so it was a little more difficult, but that basically gets them up there, and then I'll zoom in here in a second and show you how to strap it down. So obviously a little lesson learned. I forgot to put the kickstand up, but all I had to do is lift the tire, flip the kickstand up, and now it's on there. So you have 4 of these hooks, 1 for each tire of each bicycle. You want the bike to rest in those. Normally I take my time and get the straps out of the way, but for this demo I didn't. I've only got one hand free, so I'm not actually going to strap it down, but basically you just take this rubber strap, put it over top of the tire, and pull it into that notch. Then down here at the bottom you have these 4 pegs. You place them through the tire. Actually go around this way and pull it tight through the peg. Again, if I had 2 hands, this would be a lot easier. And you'll go around and secure all those. So I was talking about earlier about the placement of the hooks. The way I have mine set up is for the bicycle facing the camper, I have it in the 3rd notch down, and for the front bicycle it's down 1 notch, and I have it like that on both the front and the back. That gets the back bicycle up just a little higher and gives you more clearance back here. I think I have another video pointing out the bungee strap I have on the pedal. I'll explain that in more detail in that video. And then where the real experimentation comes in is these bottom pegs. The instruction manual says that you only need 1 peg per bicycle, but you can use 4 total, 2 for each bicycle. I found that it's more secure that way, and now that I've gotten used to it, they don't get in my way loading as much. At first, the pegs sticking out were in my way, and so I tried it with only 1 peg per bicycle, and I just didn't like how stable it was, so I went ahead and moved them around. You can see this one's a little far away, but I can still strap it in and it stays in there really nice and tight. And that's it for how I strap them down. Now I'll do a quick video of taking them off. So getting them down is very similar to putting them up. First thing you want to do is make sure all your straps are unhooked, and make sure that the rubber straps are out of the way, so when you go to take it down, it doesn't get hung up on one of those rubber straps. So what I'll probably do is start with either the front or the back, take one tire off, hold it in place, lift the other tire off, and then bring it down to the ground. Same thing for the rear bicycle. Again, it's a little more tricky. So what I'll do is I'll take the front tire off, lift it, and I'll grab it in that same spot, about the center of gravity of the bicycle, right in front of the pedal. Angle it so I can lift it off those hooks. And just like that, off she comes. Again, you can see how I grip the bicycle right here and right here. Makes it easy to extend my arms and get it far away from my body. And that's it. So a couple more things real quick. You'll notice I have a blue bungee cord that's holding the pedal in the up position on the side that faces the camper. The higher you go with the camper, again, the more curvature you have. So having that pedal that faces the camper in the up position gives me more room. And by bungeeing it up, I don't have to worry about trying to make sure it's in that position when I hang it. I don't have to worry about it moving. I know it's going to be that position. The front bicycle, it doesn't really matter, just the one that faces the camper. Also, a nice little plug for my Amazon rug that I have for the camper. It got a little wet on our last trip, so I was letting it dry. It's pretty awesome. So one other concern I had with the bike rack was how much weight it would add to the tongue of the travel trailer. So I did some measurements. I used a modified version of the bathroom scale method to measure the tongue weight, and turns out that the bicycle rack itself plus 2 bicycles added almost exactly 100 pounds to the tongue weight of the camper, which is almost the exact weight of the bicycle, so it's not really surprising even though it's offset just a small amount. It did add 100 pounds. So if payload capacity is an issue for you, then maybe it's not the best option, but the other option for me is to put them in the bed of my truck, which adds to the payload just as much. So for me, it was worth it to be able to have more room in the truck and not have to worry about fighting taking the front wheel off the bicycles to fit them in the truck and be able to shut my bed cover. So overall, extremely happy with the Jacket bike rack. If I had to do it over again, I would definitely do it. Extremely stable going down the road. I also got the bump it attachment for it, which goes into the hitch of your truck, and went for a bike ride with it about 30-40 miles away, and they didn't move at all. And going down the road on the camping trip, it's about an hour-and-a-half drive to the campground we stayed at, and the only real movement in the whole system is in this bolt right here. When you get the weight up there, it does move just a hair. This one's pretty steady, but the bikes move together and almost moves just completely in unison with the camper. So again, great review. I'd give it 5 stars. So another thing I want to go over is how easy this thing was to install. So the first thing I did was hook up the trailer to my truck. I went ahead and put the spring bars on my Blue X-Ray Pro and everything, just like I was going to hitch it up to drive it, and raise the tongue jack all the way up. And then once you have that up, there are 3 bolts holding on the tongue jack, and the jacket ships with 3 new screws or bolts that replace these. They're a little bit longer to account for the thickness of the plate here. So once you have the tongue jack off, I just kind of had a towel. I set it up here on the propane tanks up out of the way. Then this part isn't attached. You just have this square frame here. Set it in place, and I found it easiest to take the jack and pull it all the way through. You can see there's more clearance on the front of this frame than there is on the back. So if you try to come in this way, the front of the jack would hit right here and you wouldn't have good clearance. So I took the whole jack, lifted it through, then angled it so it'd go back in the hole, and just kind of tilted it right into place, and it went in super easy. I saw some videos of people trying to put it in, and I could see they were struggling. They ended up having to have 2 people, and sometimes they would put the jack through this frame and then set the whole thing in. For me, I found it easier just to come in from this angle. Went right in. Then you have 1 anti-rattle bolt here that holds on this fork, and then 1 anti-rattle bolt that holds on the arms. And the arms have these little pins, which is really nice. You can pull that pin out, set it to the side, and this slips off. So now you can store it so that those foam pads don't get weathered, don't get the UV rays and deteriorate the foam too quick. They actually work really well for protecting the bicycle when you're loading and during travel. So I think that's it for the installation. One other note, in case I didn't put it in here somewhere else. I mentioned before the curvature of the camper. You can see how from a profile view, the higher up you go, the more clearance you have between the bike rack and the camper. So that's the reason why I have my hooks on the bike facing the camper higher. That way I can get the bicycle higher in the air. It's more cumbersome to load, but it gives you more clearance and actually keeps you from accidentally scratching the camper while you're trying to load it. Even though you have to lift it higher, you're further away from the camper with a little less risk of scratching it there. And again, that's the reason for the bungee cord on the tire. That's to help keep that pedal in the up position to give you more clearance here. All right, well, if you have any questions, feel free to give me some feedback and let me know what you think.